Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we will be talking about how to make post requests with Angular. If you have been following along with our Angular tutorials, you already know how powerful this platform can be. Today we are going to harness the power to send data to our server. Let's get started with our existing Hello World application. I am assuming that you have already set up your HTTP client module and have some kind of service like we have here. So if you have not, then you can check out our previous tutorials to get that set up. Now let us open your service. Like we have our data service, and in your service we'll start defining a method named post data, which will take the data as the parameter, and then make sure you have injected the HTTP client service, and then we'll simply use this .http.post, and here I will pass the API URL. This would be the endpoint URL that you will create shortly. So in the second parameter we will pass the data that we are receiving from here, and then we will simply return the response of this HTTP API call. In this, HTTP is our HTTP client instance, and post is the method we are using, and the URL is where we are sending the data. The data that we are sending to the server is whatever we pass into the post data. Let's switch over to data display, and this is where we will call our new post data method. Let's create a new method named submit data, and then we will call the post data function from there. I will define it here as submit data, and then we will use this data service post data, and then I will pass this data to it. So I will create another variable form data, and we will have something name, test, age, whatever, and let's keep it simple. And here I will pass form data instead. Alright, after that, you know that post data function will return us an observable that we can subscribe. So use subscribe function here, and in that we will pass a callback function that will receive a response from the backend endpoint where you are hitting. Now I will display the response in the console just to see what we are getting from the backend. So in this code, as you can see, we are subscribing to the observable that is returned by post data. This means that we are waiting for the HTTP request to complete, and then we are logging the response here. Now let's move on to our server. We will need to set up a route to handle our post request. So here I will define that endpoint app.post, and in that function I will pass the method name, a path, and then I will pass a callback function. This callback function will give us request and response, and then I will console the data that is coming from the body of the request from the Angular, and then I will send back a response to the consumer of this API. Here we'll send a message that data received. So In this code, you can see we are setting up a post route at /data. When a request is made to this route, we log the request body and send the response back to the client. But before that, we have to, if you are using Express.js server, so here make sure you add app.use and app.json, express.json actually. Okay. After that, we will restart our server and then we will test it. And that's it. You are now set up an Angular app that makes. Now let us test it. We have to call this function submit data, and for that I will create a button here and we will call that function. On click, I'm going to remove this because we don't need it here. So we don't need it here. Okay, now let's try. I will hit the submit button and keep the network tab open just to observe the request that will go to the backend. You can see a request right there, but we have an error in the backend. We should have used this variable instead. I will restart the server again. And now hit the submit button again. And this time you can see the data has received message is being shown here. And in the console, the message is being shown that came from the backend. And if you go back to the backend, you can see that the data that we sent in the network, you can see we sent age and name, and that data was being shown in the console as well because of the console.log. So that's it. You have now set up an Angular app that makes a post request to an Express.js server. You can now use this foundation to expand your application, perhaps by storing received data in the database or adding more complex server-side logic. Remember, the key points here to create a method in your data service to make a post request, to call this method from your component when you want to send data, and to set up a route on your server to receive the data. That's all for today's tutorial. I hope you found this guide on how to make post requests with Angular helpful. If you have any questions, please leave a comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more programming tutorials. Thanks for watching.